The International Newsnet World Report is a national television news show available in more than 30 million homes. We broadcast daily real news the networks won't tell you. We are solely viewer-supported. That means you. You can donate at our website, inenworldreport.net. We hope you find the following interview informative and helpful. Tired of futile information and sensational news? So are we. That is why we are here. Want no fear investigative reporting? You know where to find it, right here at the INN World Report. Not only do we provide daily news, but also hundreds of interviews on voter fraud, media consolidation, the war, torture, global economic forces, the Constitution, and those eroding civil liberties. We talk about these topics and more with some intriguing people. This is the real news the networks won't tell you. Broadcast television in more than 25 million homes and on the web. Get involved. Call us at 888-905-2835 or visit our website at www.inenworldreport.net or email us at inenworldreport@gmail.com.
When Bush signed the National Defense Authorization Act for 2008 this week, he again declared that he has the power to bypass law. Executive whim or carefully planned and executed strategy of pushing his goals forward and representative government be damned. This time it's ignoring prohibition against using federal funds to establish permanent U.S. military bases in Iraq. Another part of this signing statement, to exercise United States control of the oil resources of Iraq. Put simply, this means he wants to be able to protect the oil he just stole. These are just two in a long list of selective law enforcement decisions all the way back to 2001. Do these laws indeed impose requirements that could inhibit the president's ability to carry out his constitutional obligations? And is this the way our constitutional government was designed to work? To tell us more, we are joined on the phone by Professor Theodore Lowi. Professor Lowi is Professor of American Institutions at Cornell University and author of several books, including The End of Liberalism. Welcome to the International Newsnet, Professor Lowi.
Well, glad to be with you.
Well, first, these latest signing statements, or this latest signing statement, which came along with this bill, would you like to comment on that?
Well, they are an extension and a repetition of various signing statements that he's made, earning him the title of being the president using most of these things in its history. That he has done so many signing statements that his signing statements outnumber all signing statements made by every president before him in the history of the United States. So this is the biggest arrogation of power that we've ever confronted. Even during war, there have not been as many instances where presidents have disregarded something that Congress has called upon. There are some instances of that sort. But even in the case of Abraham Lincoln, when he lifted the habeas corpus and did several other immediate things without consultation, even there he eventually went back to Congress and sought approval, even if after the fact. But he recognized the existence of Congress. So these things have moved along, and Congress has never fought back. In the Nixon period, in the Reagan period, and so on, Congress never fought back. So each president has assumed that Congress has engaged in tacit consent. Since it remains silent, that means that presidents consider that the principle of signing statements has been validated. So George Bush can stand up and say, I took my oath to defend the American people, which is a false interpretation of the oath of office. And the president can say, I'm above the law, because Congress has never stepped in to say, uh-oh, you cannot do that. We're going to take measures to punish you for that.
This kind of thinking that Bush will use a signing statement, is this in the thought of congressmen when they go ahead and pass laws? They know he's going to do this. They know that he's going to unilaterally strip out any part he doesn't like. Does that make any difference as they pass the laws? And does passing these laws simply become political positioning, knowing that the unitary executive will do whatever he wants?
It obviously, obviously they expect this sort of thing. It takes them by surprise, though, in an instance like that, They think he just wouldn't do that sort of thing, and when he does, they simply cave in. Now, the Congress, especially the House of Representatives, always considered its main power the power of the purse. So they're saying no money can be spent on this sort of thing, and that's what this authorization bill was about. And so this comes very close to the actual core of congressional power that the Constitution gave to Congress as a balance to the single-headed executive. This was a very big fear on the part of the founders that maybe they shouldn't have a single-headed executive, because that'd be too much like a king, and we just fought a rebellion against the King of England. So Congress enters into this with control over the purse, and when the president proceeds in any case, they feel they have to go along. It's a tacit. There's been a kind of genteel coup d'etat, that somewhere along the line the presidency has slipped into being an uncontrollable unitary executive, the way the right wing talks about their goal for the presidency. And they're winning, because even since the Democratic Congress was elected last time round in 2006, they came in with some understanding by the American people they would oppose the war, or at least the conduct of the war. And they've done absolutely nothing by simply, in a pro forma way, they've tried to set limits on the president, who then either disregards or writes a signing statement saying he's going to disregard it. And so that is tacit consent to be governed by a unitary executive without constraint from the U.S. Congress.
Can we look for a moment at what he's proposing now for basically guarding the oil? This goes almost in direct conflict to the Iraq hydrocarbon law. The Iraqi Parliament, or Congress, I believe, is now being offered bribes to vote in favor of the U.S.-sponsored Hydrocarbon Act, which puts the U.S. and multinational oil companies who sponsored the war in charge of Iraq's oil. Now, Bush is saying through this signing statement that he now has the right to protect the multinationals as they go forward with their investments.
Well, there we've got even more trouble, because for such a long time we've been involved in controlling the sources of oil in various countries, not just Iraq, and not on the basis of a conquest that we do. We managed to do it through the subtle conquests of the private and energy companies, private oil companies, that then we come in and protect them as a matter of property right eventually. So this is not as big a departure as it may appear, that they're there and will stay there in order to protect the sources of oil to the United States. This has been a primary element of our foreign policy since the end of World War II.
What would you say are some of the most egregious things that came out in the signing statements during the Bush years? And if you want, compare those to some which were pretty nasty in previous administrations.
Well, I don't even need to make a kind of priority statement, because every signing statement is an affront to the separation of powers. Even if it's considered a trivial matter that is in a bill that Congress sends over for presidential approval or veto, that I would say I wouldn't want to lose the argument against the president by saying here are some weaker ones that are not very significant, here are some strong ones that are very significant. So that still leaves him the discretion to say, look, this is an incidental matter. You're interfering with my daily activities, so I'm just not going to observe that. That's just as big an affront as his saying in another signing statement that he will proceed with his treaties and understandings with the Malaki regime about oil. He'll proceed about debasification. He'll continue and not be interfered with by that. So you see what I'm getting at is that even the small step adds precedent to the presidential power. Then they can come back like Richard Nixon and claim it. The difference was Richard Nixon was the first one to make that claim, and he was going to be impeached for it. I would like to establish the principle that there is no single trivial signing statement